everyone. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Wrestling with the Future. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Angelo, joined as always by the happy haberdasher, the smartest guy in the room, Dan the Man Sebastiano. How you doing, Danny?
I'm great, Angelo. It's been a 2020, kicked out another shitty week so far, but I'm looking forward to a good interview, maybe shed some light on dark times.
Oh, brother, I'm going to tell you what, we got the guy tonight. Speaking of dark times, Mike Messier's back. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks a lot.
I love you, Mikey. You know that. He is an actor, director, writer, producer, filmmaker, sometimes referee, sometimes wrestler, sometimes ad hoc stuntman. Marvelous Mike the Movie Maker Messier. Mikey, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Angelo. I'm good. You know, I've done a little bit of stunt work in the film industry, but tonight we have a guest I'm very excited about because he's been in a lot of great film projects as well as wrestling. So it's going to be a great conversation.
Mikey, that's enough. Cut it. Sometimes Mikey does my intro for me when it's real.
No, I do a preface to the introduction. I warm up the introduction. I segue.
The opening
I'm a pro, man. I'm a pro. 62 years old. I've been doing this a long time. Now, so just to let everybody know, Mikey is under the weather tonight. He's got some health issues going on right now. He's sitting up for us.
Non-COVID. Please clarify.
He's got a hernia.
I don't want to talk about that on the air. I don't want to.
We're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell everybody you have a hernia.
Yeah, but I don't want it on the air, though. I really don't want.
I didn't tell anybody anything.
I don't want it on the show.
We'll cut this in post.
Hernia, so he's sitting up rather than laying down.
I don't want
so Mikey's with us. And we have a very, very special guest tonight. This guy's been around. You're talking about actor, producer, writer, author, wrestler, movie star, television star, comic book hero, folk hero. You name it. What the hell does Andrew Anderson not do? He is the original Renaissance man of pro wrestling. And part-time Viking if you need one, and part-time TV villain if you need one. But full-time great guy, full-time pro wrestler. He is our very special guest tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the reinforcer himself, Andrew Anderson. Andrew, how you doing?
How are you guys?
Good.
Terrific.
What's up? By the way, Mikey, Mike, I know it's not a hernia. I know you actually have a really, really, really audacious, horrible freaking case of hemorrhoids. I know that. But don't worry. Don't worry. They got a spackle bucket of Preparation H, and they got a squeegee from the guy on the street. Don't worry. He's COVID-free. And later on, Dan is going to bend you over, and he's going to rub
Whoa.
This show is getting out of hand.
Good Lord.
We're going to lose our sponsorship from Manscaped.
Don't worry. He'll put a butt plug in your mouth while he's doing it.
There you go.
Let's do another tape.
I thought the dirty promos were a different show, Angela.
No, I do everything.
And Andrew Anderson is also a part-time doctor and proctologist.
I'm actually having penis reduction surgery so that I'm not hurting women left and right here in southern Florida. But I didn't want to say that.
I thought the goat bit the tip off. That's what I heard, Mike.
That's right.
Right. Andrew, you realize our sponsor is Manscaped.
Oh, boy. There you go. I love it.
That's a shoot.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
So how you guys doing? Everybody doing good? Everybody
So it's been an adventurous ride for Andrew Anderson. We were talking, in the interest of full disclosure, before we went on the air, Andrew and I were speaking about, whether we had met before. And in fact, I did meet him many, many moons ago, working for the late Dennis Caruso here in New Jersey. And of course, if you don't know Andrew's story, and I'll let him tell it, but we have a mutual connection again that I didn't realize until I went back into the history and remembered who trained him and who discovered him. And so, Andrew, let's talk about, first of all, why wrestling? My understanding is that you actually, you're when you were a kid, you wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, I wanted to be a rock star. Actually, I wanted to be a rock star. I was in a lot of bands over the years, and my father worked for Atlantic Records, and I really tried to get into the music system, and it was great. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. But there I am. I went to college. I became an investment banker. I got a degree in business administration, which led to a master's degree in business administration, a minor in political science, and a BA in marketing and management. Because a lot of the same classes I used for marketing management were going towards business administration. So when I got my master's, I had enough credits there to get to continue on. And some of the credits for my master's became credits for my BA in marketing and management. But I decided I did what every other good guy that was working on. Well, I actually didn't work on Wall Street. I worked on the 35th floor of the Payne Weber building in Manhattan on the Avenue of the Americas. But I did what every other red American would do. I would bounce on the weekends to meet girls.
There you go.
Who do you think comes walking into the bar? No great stories about the investment firm, about banking, but I'm bouncing in a bar in Wallington, New Jersey on a weekend, and who comes walking in? But I see this big mullet walk in. It's a Metal Maniac. Brother, brother.
My friend Jeff Miller.
Yep, and right behind him is the brother himself.
The brother.
And the brother took me under his wing, and one thing led to the next, and before you know it, I'm training, I'm wrestling, and I'm going to places all over the country, the world, and then I'm teaming with Nickolai Volkoff, and I took over Boris Zukov's, I guess, job at the time was as one of the Bolsheviks. I was a Siberian Tiger my first 5 years, and I teamed with him. With Nickolai for a long time, but I'd always wound up getting a ring. I always came back to Jimmy. I'm saying it was always me and Jimmy somehow, some way down the road. Jimmy, and Jimmy and Carol was on your show recently. What a beautiful woman, wonderful woman, a phenomenal person, a phenomenal mom, and great. And I love her dearly. And she was on with two more of my beautiful friends. Barbara Goodish, Bruce Brody's widow, who's extremely close. I love her dearly. Been friends with her for a long time, and extremely close with Karen McDaniel, who is like a big sis to me. Wahoo's widow. I've wrestled Wahoo, one of Wahoo's best matches, and I was with Carol over the years with Jimmy. I through all the ups and downs, all the way through Jimmy. Illness and the nightmare that they went through with that case being reopened and Barbara, I know Barbara for years from the Cauliflower Alley and from all the different conventions.
Sure.
She's just a sweetheart, and
oh my God, I've known Barbara and Karen for ages.
Wow.
I've been around this, Andrew, I've been around this business for 48 years, brother.
That's pretty good. That's a good run.
Yeah, it's a great run. Phil Zacco was my uncle. So I have a little legacy. But here's the thing, though. Back in the day, you mentioned the guy who we love on the show. He's been here 3 or 4 times already. The other brother, Jeff Miller, the Metal Maniac. I love Jeff. Now, Jeff, he's an acquired taste, as you know.
Yes. We have our falling outs, but I always love him,
Yeah. He's a character. Did you ever work a program with he? Because I know he and Jimmy were married for years together, all over the country.
I actually this is one for the. This is a classic story. Okay, Jeff and I worked for East Coast Pro Wrestling a lot over the years. Over the past 26 years. And Jeff was working for East Coast Pro Wrestling, and Jeff's opponent didn't show up, and my opponent didn't show up, and we're wrestling at a small venue in it was in I gotta say it was in Mahwah, New Jersey, at the Elks Lodge. So the promoter writes it out. Jeff knows that at the time I was at the time. I'm still. Right now, I'm not going to toot that I'm strong in bench press and Buicks like I used to, because I haven't been in a gym since I think March 15th, like that. So I know it sucks for me, but back then I was a strapping young bastard, and it was it was pretty funny, And my whole routine was that I was a bench press routine, and I'd gorilla press the guy no matter how big he was in the ring. So I'd press him on my head. One of my cast members and good friends of mine and a student of mine from the movie The Wrestler, Paulie Normus, was a jacked up bodybuilder.
Sure.
6'5", 320 pounds, and every time we'd do the same spot in the ring. And Jeff knew this. I'd shoot him off. I'd hit him with a shoulder tackle. He wouldn't go down. I'd hit him with another tackle. And Paul Enormous would not go down. God rest Paul's soul. I loved him. He passed away for the premiere of The Wrestler. He was in all my scenes in The Wrestler with me. Then the next spot would be I would turn around and I would hit Paul with the biggest flying shoulder tackle. Paul would take the big bump. I'd pose to the crowd, and he'd be behind me. I wouldn't see him, and Paul would be there. So we'd do the old Flair Luger spot where I'd flex to the crowd, and then the monster's behind me, and I'd turn around. Now, this is where we did the swerve. The fans would expect the jacked up monster to pick me up and hit me with his head. I would give him the kick to the balls, grab him by the throat, snatch his balls, and press Paul over my head. At one time, I did 15 reps with the guy. But this is where the old swerve comes in. As soon as I dropped him, Warrior style, I would tell Paul, don't sell it, get up, and just start clotheslining the shit out of me, and I'll powder out of the ring. So that's how we would do it. So Jeff kind of knew this spot was coming. So get in the ring. I chased Jeff. Jeff would always powder and spend more time out of the ring than in the ring. If you take away the mic, he'd go, what do I got left? So I was chasing him around the ring.
Yeah.
All the boys are lined up in the place to watch this. Jeff is running, and Jeff's going, "You're blowing me up, brother. You're blowing me up." Finally, he slides in the ring, and I come in right after him. Well, he hits me with the double axe handle. Double axe, like Billy Eadie. He grabs me by my hair, gives me a high knee to the freaking face. He goes, "Stay down, hell, brother." And then he picks me up, and he hits me with something else, and I go down. Well, I'm selling. I'm listening to, because Jeff's got a few more years on me in the business, so I'm listening to him. He broke me in, so I got to listen to him. But I waited till he turned his back on me. When he turned around, I'm standing up behind him. I grabbed him by the neck. I grabbed him by the balls, and I squeezed those balls extra hard than I normally would, because I love it. And I pressed his carcass over my head and held him there. And he was about 300, I'd say 280, 285 at the time. And I held him there over my head. He just said, "Brother, please put me down easy." So I gave him the old slam home, and it was funny. And nobody ever saw the Maniac go up like that. The Maniac always did the Ric Flair dump off the top rope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But that was that was the only time Jeff and I worked, except we did a 3-way match in ECPW. We did another 3-way match at the old wrestling school, and there's an iconic picture, which it's me with super short bleach blonde hair, press slamming Jeff off the. It was one of the Ric Flair type dumps that I call it, and that was a great picture. It's an iconic picture, Angela. I'll send it to you on Messenger when we're.
I appreciate that. Well, there's a reason I asked you about having worked with Jeff Metal Maniac, and I was hoping that you would tell the story about Mahwah, and there's a reason. I was there.
You were at the Mahwah one, huh?
I was at the show that. Yeah. I was at that show. And I thought, I hope to God he remembers, because I was there that night, and that was a great fucking show, and it was a really jacked up show. And Andrew, let's talk about that. Let's really talk about that, Andrew, because one of the things that I miss is those small indie shows that 50 or 60 people that would sound like MSG on a Saturday night.
They were amazing. That place was great. That place was great. The Mawa Elks Lodge was great back then. But
my God. Yeah.
60 people. They must have had about 200 people in that place, packed it out. They packed that place. They packed it out.
Sure.
And
yeah.
We were like third or fourth match.
Yeah, and people don't understand that today. You know, they have no concept of what, and we talk a lot about that on the show. You know, what these young fans today, what they're missing. You know, first of all, they're missing being fans, because everybody's so into being a mark, they've forgotten how to be a fan, and there is a difference, huge difference. That's the biggest thing. They've forgotten how to be fans. The other thing is, we had characters back in the day, guys like Andrew Anderson, guys like Metal Maniac. You know, you guys weren't world famous yet. You were still making your bones. But when you guys walked into a ring, you know, the air got sucked out of the room, because your personalities were larger than life. And we've talked to Dan. Tell me how many times I've talked about that.
Oh, pretty much every show that's wrestling before 1995 has come up.
Yeah, it's
Andrew. Talk to Andrew.
It's a forgotten art, man. Dan, I'll tell you, it's when I walk down the street now, you know, people know I'm a wrestler of the freak shows in town. You know,
right?
So, I mean, you know, it's like. You see nowadays, you look at a lot of the guys that they don't look like wrestlers. Now, I heard Arn told me a story. We were at a convention. Arn said, he was telling me and Road Warrior Animal Joe, we're sitting there talking. I think it was actually this past November. We were at the in WrestleCade, and Arn was saying something like, yeah, you know, he goes, certain guys, you know, when me and Tully would come down, we didn't fit into the WWE. We looked more like businessmen in the airport, so people wouldn't like look at us like they would the Road Warriors or Santana and Martel, you know, because they dressed like the Horsemen. So they dressed a lot classier than most of the guys would wear Zubaz or jeans and sneakers and stuff like that. They dressed hard, you know, which nowadays Vince McMahon wants people to dress like Arn and Tully would dress, to look more appropriate, business class type, you know. But if you look at Arn and Tully now walking down the street, they would look like wrestlers. Nowadays, they look like wrestlers. They're not big. They're not that big. I mean, you got guys like in AEW, like Lance Hoyt, that's just a monster. The other guy, what's the guy? The big guy that's there now.
Luchasaurus?
Archer?
Oh, yeah, Archer. I'm talking about Archer. Lance Hoyt. That's his name. Luchasaurus is a monster too. Look at that guy. I mean, those guys to the way, you know, wrestlers used to look. And and then the other guy, what's the other guy? Wrestled Cody in a cage on TV.
Warlow,
yeah. Those guys. To me, see that warms my heart to see big guys like that getting a push. You know what I'm saying? I like that. I mean, it's, to me, it was kind of, it was different. It was when I saw, the guy's beyond a phenomenal wrestler. Did a lot more than I ever could do. But when I saw his name, Brian Danielson, you know, Daniel Bryan, whatever they want to call him. You know, American Dragon, whatever they want to call him now. When I saw him going over on guys like Big Show and Triple H and Lesnar and everything, I'm saying to myself, they're killing the age of the big man. The age of the big man. What were they doing that?
That was a point I brought up on a show. We actually had a similar conversation, and we were talking about NXT at the time. They were building, the different, obviously NXT, a lot of little guys, but they had Aleister Black, and they were kind of giving him the Undertaker style. He was towering over people with a big kick to the face. And Aleister Black's 5'10", and he was their big monster.
It's like
Andrew.
Now, and listen, I know some people are going to say, well, he never worked for WWE, so what the fuck is he talking about? But you know what? It's still it's that I'm talking now as a wrestling fan my whole life. You want to see the larger than life guys. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their spot in the business, but I just didn't. That was the one time I couldn't get the booking. You know, I could not get that.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of larger than life, Andrew, I got a surprise for you, brother. There's a gentleman on the phone with us tonight that wants to say hi.
Who's that?
Mystery guest. Say hi to Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
Who's that? Mystery. Let me hear the voice a little more. Say a little more than "Hey, Andrew."
It's the Black Scorpion.
Andrew, how are you? How did you enjoy coming to my...
It's Phil LaRusso, one of the greatest guys I know, man. I love you, Phil. How are you, buddy?
I love you. How you doing, bud? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Your sons look like they're doing really good, man.
Isn't he, though?
Yeah, your son lost so much weight. He looks great. And the other guy looks like he's happy and doing good. I'm proud of the boys, man. I'm always proud of the boys. Always glad to see you. You're a great father. You're a great role model, my friend. And Jimmy loved you. Jimmy Snuka loved you like a brother, man.
I know. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you're looking good, too. You dropped a couple of pounds. You look great.
Like 24 to 27, depending if if I had a big meal, drank a big freaking glass of water, or took a dump. I'm sorry. Listen, Mike. Sorry about the dumps. I know you're having trouble with that. Don't worry about it. The preparation H is in the spackle bucket right on the side of your chair over there. Don't worry about it. Dan will be there with the rub it in. It'll burn just a little, but don't worry. You won't scream because we have that apparatus to put in your mouth. You'll be fine.
Very good.
Mike Messier, you're going to owe Andrew a lot after this show. You're going to owe him a lot, brother.
I can't wait to get sick again so I can get more help like that.
I know. Well, Phil, I tell you what, I wanted you here to surprise Andrew because we're good like that. We love doing this to people. Andrew, I don't know if you know this, but Phil did a whole show with us talking about our buddy Jimmy.
Oh yeah, Phil.
I don't know if you saw that show, but if you get a chance, you definitely take a look at the show we did with Phil LaRusso. It was a really great show, and we're going to have Phil's coming back with us in a couple of weeks.
The good times and the bad times of Jimmy. So not a lot of people knew that side of Jimmy. And Phil was there through it when a lot of us couldn't be, especially with me being on the road. And I'd have calls to Carol, late night calls to Carol to see how he's doing, and and texting back and forth. But Phil was there through everything, and it was tough on Phil. It was on me when Jimmy moved to Florida, where he passed.
Because something that you don't know, Andrew, is that I live 5 minutes from Phil. We're literally 5 minutes apart right now.
Oh shit, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's how close I was to Jimmy.
Yeah, that's great. That's
in fact, when I told Carol where I lived, she had no idea that I was like literally that close. I said, yeah, I was right up the street, basically.
Wow.
Phil, how did you and Andrew meet, brother?
Andrew and I once had a discussion. I don't know if you'll remember this. We were actually up in my memorabilia room, and we looked at each other, and we said, our paths seemed to have crossed at some point, but neither one of us could remember. But we kind of solidified our meeting in 2012 in Amsterdam. You remember that, Andrew?
Yeah. At the Hall of Fame.
Breakfast. Yeah. Breakfast, the morning after the Hall of Fame. And we just hit it off, and we've been close and in contact ever since.
Wasn't Brutus with us that breakfast?
Oh, you had beefcake? God bless you, Jesus.
Carol, Jimmy, and Phil, and I was with Brutus, and we were all sitting there. I think Stan Hansen was across from us, right?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Stan was ahead. Was over us, and I kept saying I remember saying to you, Phil, do you think Stan will lariat me if I steal some bacon off his plate? And every time Stan would turn around, I'd start creeping over to the plate, and Brutus would go, "Don't do it, bro. He's got a temper."
Yeah.
I remember that night. I'll tell you, Phil, there was a funny story about that night. Brutus and I went to the bar. We got pretty freaking hammered that night. Really, really hammered. We did the show the night before that. And
Friday night.
And then we went to the bar and we had a really rough night at the bar. And that morning, I just remember walking downstairs to the Hall of Fame, to the buffet, to the breakfast buffet, and Carol, Jimmy, and Phil were waiting for me at the table with Brutus. And we came down, and Stan was there with his wife eating. And then I just remember as we're walking in, looking like who did it and ran. And Nick walks over to us and looks at me and goes, he looks over at me and Brutus and goes, "Andrew, Edward, somebody had a rough night last night. You two definitely do not look the cats that scream." And he walked away. And that was Bockwinkel. If you knew Bockwinkel, that was Bockwinkel. And he walked away. And Brutus looks at me and goes, "Oh, fuck him. He don't know how to party." that was funny fucking story. And then we decided to eat our hangovers away. Phil was there with us. So that was a good time. And me and you had some good conversations that night. I think my aunt was really ill at the time, remember?
I do, yes.
Yeah,
I remember.
One of my aunts.
I remember how close you were to her.
Yep. So it was tough. I had two aunts who raised me, and my first aunt Marissa was the one passing away. It was around 2013 or 14, right, bro? Right, Phil?
Yeah, if I remember.
And then just past July, it'll be a year in a few days that my other aunt, my aunt Anya, died, and I was in Louisiana wrestling, and she was in a nursing home, and she passed away. But I took care of her. No regrets, bro. No regrets, guys. You know. So. But
well, I'll tell you what. I so appreciate you, Phil, for doing this. I always like to surprise our guests. Sometimes it's just a phone call from a friend. Sometimes it's just a quick hi. Sometimes it's
I thought Angela had my ex-wife calling up. Woo, that would have been a good one. Fuck.
Well, Phil, we're going to talk to you in a few days, brother, right?
Sounds good.
Good. All right, my friend. Because we got you coming on, next week or the week after? Something like that. I know we got you coming back on. I have to check my book. We'll have to check it out. But no, we got definitely coming back on.
All right, listen, I appreciate the invitation again, Angelo. And Andrew, stay good, bro. What's up?
Love you, buddy. Keep the faith, man.
You too. Love you too. You take care of yourself. Give my regards to your family, please.
Yes, I will.
Phil LaRusso. Thank you, Phil. Take care, bro.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great guy. Great guy.
So now I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to make it to Texas again. It looks like I'm not going to be able to make it to SWE Fury tapings. A great promotion that I work for in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Plano, Texas, and Point, Texas.
Yeah.
And because the COVID, it's screwing me
Not
up.
going away.
Well, I was just about to ask you, and I'll let Mike Messier pick up on that. But yeah, I mean, I know just from me, I've lost like 4 bookings already for different conventions that I was booked to be at. I can imagine you not only conventions that you're losing, but shows to wrestle on. So, Mike, you and Andrew talk about what's going on.
Andrew, not only are you a wrestler, but you're an actor, and the film industry has been also drastically affected by this COVID-19, this horrible thing that's going around. And but as a wrestler who's really an entrepreneur, an actor, a wrestler is an entrepreneur, and it's so counterintuitive to have social distancing at a live independent wrestling show when the whole idea is to pack as many people in as you can and have a great time and sell out an arena. So for these groups, basically only two, WWE and AEW, that have the advantage of network deals in place, sponsorship in place and everything, all they have to do is basically supply programming, which may or may not be well received. For guys in a position like yourself, what toll has this taken on your career? What things are you doing? I know you're getting some residual checks through acting and the acting union, which you've talked about in previous interviews, but just being a guy who likes to be active like you do, how is this affecting your life, your career, and what are you doing to cope?
Well, my youngest daughter, who I live with, she's starting to hate me more. Now, and I get a lot of dad, or I get a lot of dad. Shut up, dad. So, but no, it's really hard. I mean, I just try to, a lot of my income is made from personal appearances as well as wrestling. So, I was just talking to Brian Knobs and Jerry Sags about it, the Nasty Boys, and we were on the phone the other day, talked to the both of them, two of my closest friends. I love them dearly. And Sags was saying, the fucking selfie is out of the picture now. You're not taking it unless you're wearing a beekeeper's outfit and the guy's wearing a hazmat suit. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
What do you do in a situation like that? Now, what are we going to do? Have sneeze guards, plastic, plexiglass over the tables now?
Andrew, that's a really great segue, because here's what's happened now. Here, wrestling has never heretofore been affected by, the outside world, unquote. Now, for the first time, I think ever, wrestling is having to deal with, the reality, this fake business, quote unquote, fake business, has to now deal with the very real life reality of, infectious disease and airborne illnesses and people literally, fans unbeknownst who could get you sick, like really, really sick.
Right.
To the point where,
I mean,
it's crazy.
I was supposed to be, tested for SWE Fury tapings on July 3rd, and then for the global reunion run by Alex Porteau and Pro Wrestling 2.0 on the 5th. And it didn't happen because lovely governors of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut have decided that all your personal information must be given to them upon arrival at the airport and departure at the airport, and therefore they're in a pissing war with the governors of Florida, of California, Texas, and we want to quarantine certain people. So, it's not every state is doing that, but New York and New Jersey, Connecticut are doing it. I think Pennsylvania also. So now I would have been quarantined, stuck either in the airport, would have missed the shows to begin with, or I definitely would have been quarantined on the way back home for 14 days with the penalty of a $2,000 fine. And a lot of people are arguing, saying they can't enforce that. Well, yes, they can. It's a governor's mandate, which makes it a temporary law. And during that time, you can get hit with a $2,000 fine. I've seen people already do it. They do random checks on you to see if you're home. Now, all right, is it comparable to a communist or a socialist state? Yeah, it's kind of scary how we've fallen into this like sheep, and dominoes in a row, and all of a sudden now we have to comply. All right. Am I all about wearing a mask? Yes, I'm willing to wear a mask. Am I willing to get a vaccination? No, I'm not going to get a vaccination. All right. I don't believe in it. I think there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. And
absolutely.
I think, and look, I was born I was born a good Christian, a Catholic kid. I was raised for Catholic schools. So, I'm not exactly the best. I'm not exactly a Bible thumper, or I'm not one to preach, because look, I had my own pitfalls and my own demons and whatever, so to speak. And you'll read about that in my upcoming book, which is not. We'll talk about that later, guys. So,
Sure.
but in the meantime, I'm finding the close parallel lines between the Book of Revelation and the Bible, and what the hell is going on now? And I'm just thinking to myself, holy shit! You know what? I never thought of this stuff. I was always a big Iron Man fan. 666, the number of the beast, baby. Yeah. You know? Bruce Bacon.
People, you know what, Andrew? It's funny you say that, because we had this conversation. We actually did a whole show on exactly what you're talking about, and I've got a series of 4 more planned. My guys are just now finding out about this. Surprise, fellas! Sorry, Dan.
Listen,
but here's the deal.
It's something.
Here's the gist of it. No, you're not far off. You're not far off the mark at all. But again, and I tell people, don't worry about it, because if you read the end of the book first, we win. So there's no need to read the rest of it. It's that simple.
One way to look at it.
It's the only way to look at it. It's really the only way to look at it. Read the end of the book first. We win.
From my phone, I just got to get a charger. So if I kind of black out for a second, it's only because I'm looking for
absolutely go ahead.
My charger.
Sure. I'll just I'll say that.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. Hold on.
Well, sure. We're still with you, Andrew.
Yeah.
While Andrew's getting his phone charged, I'll just say that.
A lot of people we'll do Mikey, and then we'll do Dan. Okay.
Sure.
I'm here.
Okay, coming back. Take your time, buddy. Just a lot of people have various viewpoints on vaccinations, on civil liberties when it comes to wearing masks, not wearing a mask. Some people say, if you notice, a lot of places that you go to, masks are recommended but not required. And I think there's a lot of places that legally, and look, I'm wearing the mask, but there's a lot of places that are probably not sure what to do, because between the federal government and the state governments, people are kind of confused. We've never been through something like this before, and we're 4 or 5 months into it, and we still haven't figured it out, and everybody's still not on the same page. And I don't know if we ever will be on the same page. So while other countries are kind of getting over the hump, we're kind of getting rehumped. You know, we're going back, and even California. Apparently, a friend of mine just moved out of California to New York City because he saw it coming that the sanctions in California are getting worse. So now when we talk about the individual, because I was really enjoying a lot of Andrew Anderson's stuff tonight. And Andrew, if you could correct me if you want, but were you being advised at one point to kind of soft sell the reinforcer nickname, or did that kind of come and go, or is that still a topic?
You know what? For a while, my agents told me drop the reinforcer. My agents for the acting portion of my career. They told me you have to drop the reinforcer. We don't want you to use the reinforcer. So on my acting, can you hear me? I'm getting an echo.
I'm getting an echo on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said to me, we want you to not call yourself the reinforcer at like conventions and toy shows and personal appearances that have nothing to do with wrestling. So I try to comply to that, but people would still come back and say, "Hey, it's a reinforcer. Hey, it's a reinforcer." You know, so it's kind of a situation. It's gotten to be a situation. But you know, I mean, I can't. Like I'll always be known as the Skittles guy, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
As the fucking Skittles guy.
Yeah.
You know? So
well, Andrew, how do you reconcile one career to the other if you're equally as known for both?
You don't. You have to.
There has to be. Well, I mean, but isn't there a happy medium? Dan, help me here. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere. You know, address that with Andrew. Where does the rubber meet the road here?
I think, Andrew, you're in a very similar situation that Dwayne Johnson was when he went in. A lot of studios didn't have the rights to call him The Rock, but fans and newspapers, there was the big. You see that sometimes with naming rights on like stadiums where newspapers will call it a nickname, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not the actual name of the stadium. That's not the name of the person. You have to kind of find a balance because, like Angelo was saying, you're known for both. There's people that are going to recognize you for your roles in television and movies, and people are going to recognize you for what you did in the ring. And sometimes you just kind of, like, I hate to use the example, but like they did with Dwayne Johnson, just kind of studios just kind of give up on it. If a fan runs up to you at a movie premiere or a toy fair and says, "Oh, Jesus, it's the Reinforcer. I loved your match." Well, I mean, you can't shoo him away. I mean, you can't take a selfie with him anymore, but you can't really shoo him away either.
It's out of my hands at that point. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
sure.
I'm gonna Mike Angelo. I'm not a WWE guy. I never wrestled in that grand theater, as you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? And I admit it. And I'm not afraid to admit that I went ahead and I forged my own career and I made a mark in the professional wrestling business. Just like the Metal Maniac Tokyo Monster has. And all of us, a lot of indie wrestlers now have become the new stars. Now my career is not. I've never been the best wrestler on the planet. I've never been the greatest wrestler. I've been a brawler. I wrestled when I was a lot younger. I wrestled a lot more with doing spots and stuff. But I wrestled. My career the way I've gone through life. Yep. I learned to update myself with the times.
There's a difference. Here's the difference, though. And Dan and Mike, you remember this conversation very well. We did an entire show one night where we talked about what can we learn today from the past. You said something important a few minutes ago, and I'm not going to let it go without addressing it. You don't have to be the greatest wrestler.
Right.
You don't have to be the best looking guy. You don't have to be built like Batista or look like Roman Reigns or have The Rock's charisma. Mm-hmm. You have to have one thing, a personality.
Yep. That's what I made it on,
And it's funny, Andrew, when I tell you the name that I brought up, you're going to pop for it because I had to smarten these two guys up as to who the hell I was talking about. Because they're kids, they're young. A guy that I grew up watching and fearing because he just came across as larger than life and menacing was all 5'9", all barrel chest of Bulldog Brower, Dick the Bulldog Brower.
The man who used to eat the goldfish from the freaking in the interviews. Yep.
Exactly.
He was missing a few teeth. He was out of his freaking mind in the interviews, and I heard he was out of his mind in real life. But he was a character, and you don't have that. Listen to me.
Thank you. That's the magic word. That's the word.
One of the guys that I grew up watching, and that I to this day I love his matches. A forgotten icon of the business, Killer Khan. If you watch. He did more than, he kicked and chopped and screamed, and when he chopped you, he did that and he sounded like a baby screaming for its mother's tits. But it was hysterical. But when you're a kid, you hear that screaming, you think he's killing the guy. And Killer Khan was amazing. And the other one too, I remember as a child, I remember being deathly afraid of Kamala. I remember watching them, and Jimmy Harris is one of the sweetest guys and one of my friends. I love Jimmy. There's another funny story I got to tell you in a little bit about Kamala. And so he was another guy who was extremely he was, but the one thing I got to say about Jimmy Harris was Kamala could wrestle.
Right.
Yeah.
Kamala could take the big moves. He could move for a big man. He took the belly to bellies from Magnum TA. He did everything. I mean, the guy was amazing. He was a really underrated wrestler. So, but you have the guys now. I always said this. People would say, "Oh, he's not that great of a wrestler." When referring to me at times, he's a brawler. He's just a power wrestler. But then you go back and you watch the guys that I worked that really brought the best out of me. Guys like Crowbar, Chris Ford. Crowbar and I, we wrestled at the Jimmy Snuka, I think it was his 68th birthday bash that they did at the Garden State, I think, Exhibit Center somewhere in Raritan, New Jersey somewhere, or somewhere like that.
Garden State Art Center, yeah.
And we had this amazing show, and everybody was on it at the time. I mean, Deuce and Domino, Jimmy's son, and Tom, man. You had Matt Bourne, you had Brutus, you had Nickolai. I'm trying to think. Rick Fuller, my former tag team partner, Big Rick Fuller. A lot of it was just a phenomenal show.
Sure.
On it, God, I could go on and on. It had a great cast. Mick Foley was on it. But the one thing that Bill Apter came up to me at the end of the night and said to me, he goes, "You and Crowbar stole the show." And it was from around that time. That was around 2011, and during that time, I'd say I really peaked as a performer between 2005 and 2011. Out of my 26 years to 2012, I'm not saying it's all downhill from there, but I mean,
well, no, of course not.
Hurts the body.
I mean, Andrew, we can look at the history. History is a great barometer. Okay, I want you to think about something. Bruno Sammartino was not a great wrestler.
No.
He could not wrestle scientifically. He had no interest in wrestling scientifically. He was a brawler. Punched and kicked. But what is he known for?
Arm drags. He did a lot of hip tosses, arm drags.
Right.
I've seen matches where Bruno actually would work more like a Backlund style when he had to. When he had to. And that's where Hulk Hogan. If you watch Hulk Hogan and you watch Hulk Hogan's 1980 matches from 1980 to 83 in Japan, you watch his match with Antonio Nucky, you watch his matches with guys like that, you see him teaming with guys that over here they were saying were undercard guys like Iron Mike Sharp, and Rene Goulet and guys like that. They were Hogan's top tier tag team partners, and they were working.
Oh yeah.
And the moves that Hogan was doing was wrestling. He was moving. He was wrestling. So I've always said that Hogan was a great wrestler. He just did not have to be a great wrestler. His career and his charisma.
It's funny you say that. We actually addressed that on the show, Dan. What? 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago we were talking about styles and in-ring character
specifically, Dan, remember talking about Hogan,
right?
The way he wrestled in Japan and the way he wrestled here,
right?
That was actually brought up. See, the reason I brought up, Bruno as being a brawler, he basically was. Yeah, he did some arm drags, hip tosses, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Very sparing, very rare. But here's the thing. For a guy who couldn't really wrestle, he was one of the greatest champions of all time. Not because of his skill, because of his personality.
Yep.
Okay? You could say the same thing for any of the big names that you and I grew up watching, I mean, Pedro, Superstar Billy Graham. Although Superstar Graham was jacked up too, but not a terrific wrestler, just a big musclehead.
He was a terrific personality.
Yep.
That's where I'm going. Exactly.
Rappers were rapping. Billy Graham was talking the talk, walking the walk before Ric Flair was doing it. As a matter of fact, Billy Graham's wife was the one who bleached Flair's hair. If you read Flair's book. And Graham's book.
I've actually heard him tell that story. Yes.
Has Ric Flair read his own book yet? Does he know what's in there yet?
No, I don't think he does. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the styles. Your cage match, your title cage match with Mo Sexy is still to this day regarded as one of, if not the best indie cage match of its generation, period. And you guys, but no, and I mean this in the utmost respect of the style, you guys didn't go in there and put on a Antonio Inoki classic of technical wrestling. You just beat the shit out of each other, and the
Oh, we
crowd, every
Right.
punch, kick, arm drag, hip toss, push into the ropes, clothesline, everything you guys did, the crowd was just eating up because you had that. You told the story, and that goes to something we talked about before with, you talk about the character and the realism, and I was kind of hoping you could expand on that. When you have a match like that, where it's basically we're going to go out and we're going to brawl, we're going to strike, we're just going to beat the piss out of each other, how much of that goes into the pre-work, and how much of that is let's play the crowd and we'll call it in the ring as things, we'll see what works and what doesn't?
First of all, I want to say Most Sexy Mario Baccara is one of the greatest wrestlers that has never caught a break in this business. He was another guy who brought the best out. And I got to say this, remember us going into that, and we were sitting in the back, and Sergeant Slaughter was there, and Sergeant Slaughter, I knew Sarge, but I didn't know him that well. And I just sat there, and I said to Mo, I said, what do you want to do? And he said, for the first, let's start off with just not even touching the cage for the first 5 minutes. So we did everything without us touching the cage, just push, did a few things in the beginning. And then eventually he said, just pick me up, press me over your head, and just throw me into the side wall of the cage. I just remember doing that. And I started doing that, and I did that a few times. Pressed him, threw him into the cage a few times. So we did that, and we escalated. Then we would work our way up. To using the side of the cage, then using the top rope. I missed with the senton. He did the flare dump on me. He did a close on a drop kick off the cage. I climbed to the top rope, and he German suplexed me off the top rope while I was holding the top of the cage. We did a lot of moves that nobody else was doing at the time. I got top. He did the frog splash on me after the finish. And then, of course, it was always everybody was always screaming that why would 295 pounds do a senton off the top of the cage? And I did it. And I did. But you know what? I always say that was one of the hardest bumps I took. But I wound up doing that bump. I probably must have done it about 40 to 50 times in my career. I had a lot of cage matches. I just remember Jim Ross saying, Rally saying in his only Jim Ross could say it. Man, he said to me, I said, Jim, I said, JR, I said, I'm nervous about getting my award at the CAC. And he said, what do you got to be nervous about? He goes, go in there, do what you got to do, take it home. He goes, that's it. You know the finish, take it home. And I got up there. He said that he talked about me and him talking about the award ceremony, and then about how I was nervous to get the award and what I should do. And he basically said the same thing that me and Mo Sexy said. We're going to do what we got to do. Do what we got to do. And then, so the only thing I was really concerned about during the cage match was, and with every cage match was, is the cage going to hold me when I get up top? Am I going to slip and fall and look like an idiot? Which I never did, thank God. And the other thing was, I always wanted the finish to go off great, because the finishes were always some kind of screw job finishes, because I was always the ultimate heel, And there was another match where I did the cage match with Johnny Thunder at a show in Montclair State University, and I did the on that one. And I just remember Johnny rolling in as I was already taking off, and he was rolling in because he was so dead set against me flying off the top cage at him, and he went in like about 4 seconds too quick, and I was coming down. I was like, oh, you fucking move, but the match was phenomenal too. That was another good match. That was.
Andrew, I have another surprise for you.
Oh boy.
We have a friend of yours joined in the call tonight. Mystery guest. Tell Andrew who you are.
I don't hear anything yet.
It's the Midnight Rider.
The Midnight Rider.
Mystery guest, are you here? Where'd he go?
I see them connected.
Did he connect to you yet?
It's Brad Armstrong and Tommy Rich's Mr. Armouse.
Well, I guess he's not there.
Well, he was just a moment ago.
Maybe he'll come back.
So, Dan, I got to tell you a funny story. You're going to
Go ahead.
appreciate it. So I'm at the CAC, and I'm giving my speech. And then I say up there while I'm up the speech, Sarge comes up to me and says to me, he goes, kid, I got to tell you, I've been in a lot of cage matches in my life. And he said, you and Mo did one of the greatest cage matches that I've ever seen. I took that to heart. And then I said, when I was on the podium looking down, Sarge, everybody's there. Jerry Briscoe, Brodus Clay, Barb and Warlord, Barb and Haku. You know, I love Haku and Barb family. So I'm up there and I'm looking down and I say, and Sarge said what gave me one of the best kudos in my career, and said I had probably one of the greatest cage matches he ever seen on the independent circuit as well as the any circuit, he said. And I said, I got a feeling he was blowing smoke on my ass. Sarge looks at me and goes, I sure was. I was like, gee, thanks. Now you tell me while I'm on stage, you know. But it was really great, and I appreciate the kind words you saying that for me, man. You know, if anything, I've always thought that the legacy. I always said I left the legacy in blood. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I left the legacy in blood, and it was always it was tough at times being away and doing all these indie shows and driving around the country, and sometimes you get from point A to point B and you have a great match. Other times the fans are not, or you got smart marks that are booing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I love that term, by the way, smart mark. I love it.
Old school. And at the time, I remember there was a point in 2000 to 2004 where no matter where the hell I went, they booed the shit out of me. You suck, this and that. And I was thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing different than any of these other guys? You know, why?
Because had left New Jersey, that was the problem.
It was the whole East Coast. It was the whole East Coast. It was like, what the fuck am I doing than anybody else? You know, then I realized.
No.
I'm starting off with a fucking lockup where I'm blindsiding the guy. I'm raking him through the ropes. I'm doing old school shit. And that's what it was. But then old school became a fad. Everybody wanted to see it again. And I think now more than ever they want to see old school shit. You know, and that's why a company like Brian Knobs' Legends of Professional Wrestling brings back a lot of the old timers and stuff like that. I think that's why they thrive and they draw 10,000, 15,000 people in Detroit and at City Field. He drew 10,000 some odd people in City Field. He had Goldberg, Scott Steiner versus who's Scott Steiner? RVD versus Scott Steiner, and Goldberg came out and speared Scotty. And then the Aces and Eights came out, and that was a great show. And me and Greg and who else was there? Me, Greg, and Flex Armstrong did the opening match, the opening tag team match on it. It was a great time. And I think a lot of it has to do with people want to see a resurgence of what they grew up on. And
Thank you. Oh my God, does that sound familiar? Is Papa Bear's words coming back here?
The simple psychology of what people go to see wrestling for.
Thank you, Mikey.
I think it somehow got lost. And look, you know, Shawn Michaels was a great wrestler, but then the Young Bucks trying to do. Hey, Shawn Michaels did one super kick a match. Now these two guys, the Young Bucks, as enthusiastic as they are, and they're good businessmen too, but for them to do 30 super kicks a match. It's 29 too many super kicks.
Right.
I mean, I agree. And I think there's definitely a generation gap. All right. You know, there's always going to be a generation gap in no matter what you do and no matter what kind of business you're in. It's always going to be something. It's always going to be something different. The styles change. You have to update your styles with certain things. But, you know, the one thing I got to say, and this is another thing, and you're going to, if you agree with me on this, strong style wrestling. These kids now, I see them, and I love them. They're better athletes than we ever were, but they're doing what they call strong style wrestling. And strong style wrestling is it's always been around. You've been wrestle a little snug, but some of these kids are just killing themselves. And you know what? Back then,
you know what, Andrew?
I've
said this before. I first of all, thank you for bringing this up. And I have talked till I was blue in the face ad nauseum. I love this term strong style. And you're absolutely right, Andrew. The athletes today are far better athletes than the guys of our day. But here's the difference. You don't have to be an athlete to work. They don't know how to work.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
They don't know how to work. But a lot of them don't know how to work. Some that do know how to work are just spectacular when they know they're athletes and they can work. And, not everybody can be Cody Rhodes. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone can be Nick Aldis. Those guys can work. Nick Aldis is amazing. And I think he's one of the greatest NWA champions I've seen in a long time. And I just think he is just amazing. And James Storm, those guys can work. So I watch the NWA, and a lot of people say, okay, the NWA was hokey, this and that. It's getting hokey with the whole product now. I think it's great. I love it. I love it. I mean, look, I was a franchise owner in the NWA with NWA Big Apple, and I tried to bring back my shows. My shows were stacked, and they had wrestlers that looked like wrestlers, worked the old school pace. You had a couple of guys that had a few high spots, but for the most part, you worked the old school pace, and everybody came out looked like a fucking wrestler. When they walked through you saw me versus Apollo, Big Apollo, El Leon Apollo, guy 6'5", jacked to the gills, looked like a monster. I had the Samoans on it. I had Alpha and Lloyd on it. The Sons of Samoa. Had Yahweh and it was just to me, it was great. I mean, it was. I loved what I had. I wish I could have ran with it a little more. I wish I would be able to contribute more to Billy Corgan's product. That would be great. Freaking my buddy Rick from Alabama keeps blowing up my phone with texts. I don't know why.
Right.
But, I don't know why. He's just
put the do not disturb on.
I don't know.
This is serious business.
I just keep clocking him out. So I guess I could do it through there. Yeah, maybe there.
Andrew, I have a surprise for you, Andrew.
Okay, who's that?
Surprise.
Who is that? Let me see. I can't see you, so you got to get in the middle of the thing.
You probably don't recognize me.
I don't recognize you.
So, do you remember in November when we were at the signing with what's his name up in Pennsylvania, Allentown?
Knobs. I
was there with Animal.
Yes, you were there. That's right. You were there with Road Warrior Animal. Okay. What's going on, buddy?
How are you, sir?
I'm good, bud. I'm good. I just got Joe. I got Joe that booking up in for Southwest Wrestling Entertainment in Texas a few weeks ago for July 2nd that weekend, July 3rd. So.
Yeah. So we brought Dave in here to surprise you, and I just
Bud Carson's final thing, right? The last thing he did before the COVID thing. That was in November. Yeah, I remember that. That was a great time.
Yeah.
Butch Reed and Ron were there, and everybody was there. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So,
how you doing, David?
I'm good, Angelo. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We were just talking about my favorite subject: wrestlers that look like wrestlers.
Wait, what? Why would you call me for that?
I didn't call you for that.
Well,
I called you for something else. We're going to talk
at like 35.
Say I missed it, Dan. What did he say? I missed that. I didn't hear it.
Dave, you got to speak a little slower. We got a couple of old timers on the show. Remember?
I'm old. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear.
Sore.
All I heard was dinosaur. That was.
I said, call me early.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, no, I wanted to bring you in because we're going to talk about what you got going on at the end of the show. But I wanted to bring you in because I know that you and Andrew at least worked together and knew each other at some point.
Worked each other. We've been on a couple of the same shows when I came up. That was it.
Okay.
I remember him from the signing that was Bud Carson's, right?
Yeah, but I also met you before working for Rob Fury way back in like 2013.
Oh, really? Cool. Very cool. I remember. Was that the one when was it Tony Atlas and Doink?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a pretty good building. That was a good show. I wrestled Greg on that, I think.
Yep.
So, Andrew, let's talk about that. Pursue that line of questioning. Wrestlers that look like wrestlers. Dan, yes. You've heard me ad nauseum every week talk about what happened to my wrestling.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm not going to bitch anymore about what happened to my wrestling. I'll turn it over to you.
I think it's
you can tell me how to get it back.
I think it's interesting, and Andrew, you can agree with me on this one, or tell me I'm off. You look at the different generations of wrestling. You mentioned how you got to evolve a little bit with the times. When you had this huge boom in the '80s, and be it the AWA, NWA, the pre-WrestleMania era, then the WrestleMania era, those fans still loved wrestling from the '70s, yep. And then even as you turned into Crockett. And Crockett became early WCW, and WWF had they called the new generation. Those fans loved wrestling from the 80s, and the Attitude Era fans and the NWO fans loved the 80s and 90s wrestling, and early to mid 2000s with your Eddie Guerreros and your Chris Benoits, and those fans enjoyed wrestling from the 90s and before. But the fans today look at older wrestling and it's like, oh, that's crap. We can change the system. I can't picture the Young Bucks watching a Bruno Sammartino match and going, that's what wrestling should look like. These guys transition to a stunt show. They're dancers, they're performers, and what they end up doing is they look like kids who pretend to be wrestlers, and it's not wrestling. It's clearly, very obviously, these guys that are, I don't want to say pretending to be wrestlers, but they're trained to be a character. The Young Bucks are the Young Bucks, and that's it. That's all they can do. You had guys from your generation and before, you could put them in the ring with somebody like a Giants Haystacks, or put them in the ring with Bam Bam Bigelow, or put them in the ring with a smaller guy like you mentioned, like a Daniel Bryan, and you get a good match out of all of them. You put the Young Bucks in the ring with a Giant Haystacks or somebody like a Fred Ottman, and they're not going to get that kind of match. They don't know how to work with everybody. They work a specific same 5 to 10 minute match. They play a character. They know how to cut one specific promo, and that's it. You take them out of the comfort zone, and it's gone. The wrestling side has gone over to this transition of the performer, the stunt show. You mentioned guys taking risks. I mean, I've seen matches. A power bomb off the top rope through a table full of light bulbs is not the finish. Yeah. Or like Mike mentioned, 20 super kicks and moves like the DDT and the Superfly.
That's not wrestling.
They used to be these defining moments. I'm sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
No, the moves like the DDT and the spine buster and the brain buster and a pile driver, they're kick out moves now. They're not even changing heat spots.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. They used to be finishers.
And Dan, what I think it comes down to, it's a lost art. It's a lost art. It's what I do. What Jimmy Snuka taught me when I locked up with somebody, I barely felt it. And Jimmy told me a long time ago that he said, when the guy locks up with you and you feel the collar and elbow and you feel the pressure on the collar and the pressure on the elbow and he's shaking a little bit, you know which way it's going. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Andrew, I want to tell you what, brother, right there. And my guys will tell you, the last time, in fact, when I had Carol here, I had Jimmy in the ring. in Atlantic City, 2001, at the Sands Casino. And I put him in there with a guy. It was his first time in with a name wrestler. A young guy named Breaker Morant at the time. Okay? And he gave me the greatest compliment. Actually, he gave Jimmy the greatest compliment. He said, "Oh, Angelo, thank you so much for letting me work Superfly." He worked like a feather. And if you know anything about wrestling lingo, that's the greatest compliment in the world. Yeah. It means he works light. He works smooth.
Well, that's why guys like Jimmy, I mean, look, Jimmy and even Greg Valentine and Kevin Sullivan, they still occasionally get in a ring. Their careers lasted that fucking long because they
correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew. Didn't you just have a match about a year or so ago with Tito Santana?
Yeah.
I mean, there's you talk about guys that have been working smooth for 30, 40, 30 plus years.
He can still go.
Yeah.
Still go. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, look, I mean, I've worked everybody pretty much, and Tony Atlas still goes. I was shocked. Tony Atlas bump. You know, I mean,
right.
Still bump. I'm like Tony, and he's like, Drew, just do what you got to do in there. You know. And just make sure that the female valet gets her feet on his face. That's all he wants to know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing, though. They can still go because they knew how to work.
They knew how to work. They didn't punish their bodies. Don't get me wrong. Every bump you take takes its toll on your body. You know,
Well, but Andrew, by the same token. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Every bump takes its toll, but by the same token, if you're taking bumps and then you're going through light bulbs and ladders and and chandeliers and beds of nails on top of taking bumps, chances are you're going to have a real short career.
Listen, there's a place for everything, and everything has its niche, and I'm not knocking any of the hardcore crazy stuff and light bulbs and stuff like that. Because
I don't like it.
It's not my cup of tea. I mean, if they want to do it, more power to them. They could sell tickets for it. That's great. But it's not something I do or I condone doing.
Here's the thing. You said something really important.
Let me just tell you one thing. Out of everything I did in my career, the only thing that I always say to this day took a significant number of years off my career was when I did the TV show Gotham.
Yeah.
My character was one of my group of guys. The Gotham Demons were some of the first characters killed off by Catwoman. So and in her inception and her birth as Catwoman. Well, my character wound up surviving the scene, and I'll tell you why. I did about 40 bumps with nothing but a leather jacket and elbow underneath the leather biker jacket. I had elbow pads. I didn't even have knee pads. I took about 40 bumps on concrete. They couldn't put any padding down there because they wanted it to look like inside of a garage. And I took about 40 bumps on the concrete, back bumps.
Yeah.
And one after the next. Shoot. The whip pulls the gun out of my hand. Bump. Then boom. Selena shoots me. Well, the best part was that I did 2 takes in the middle of all that where I take a shot and land off the side of an old 57 Chevy and it slide down and die. That was one of the ones they used. 2 takes. And they used the ones where I'm getting shot, my feet thrown up in the air, landed on my back, and then we'd have to reshoot the scenes where I'm running. First of all, I always said that took so much off my body. I mean, I was grandfathered into the stuntman union because of that, but still, because they had nobody do my stunts. They had nobody at that time, So for that episode.
Absolutely.
But
that kind of segues into a couple of things. I want to go in one direction, and then because you and Mike Messier are both from the world of film and television, I've got a question for you, But you talked about Jimmy breaking you in and teaching you, and you had some great teachers. Where are all the great teachers now? Who are the great teachers that we still have?
Well,
that are still around?
I think that Mr. Italy, Gino Caruso from East Coast Pro Wrestling, he's still a great teacher. He's a great teacher, and he was, he knows what he's doing up there. He's very, very, very great.
Can I tell you something about Gino? Yeah. I called Gino today to have him call in and surprise you.
Uh-huh.
He never got back to me, the bastard.
How's that for a surprise?
I know Gino Caruso very well. I'm trying to get him to get Gino to call you in tonight.
You still have I call him up for a barbecue, and he'll be at my door in an hour. with a bottle of red wine, though that swill he calls wine, and
Yeah, right.
But no, seriously. Gino is one of the great teachers still out there. I know that a lot of kudos go out to Alpha Senior and Samu, who still teaches people at WXW and I guess in Pennsylvania and Hazleton.
Yeah, Pops, sure.
Pops in Florida, and Sika still teaches people in Florida. I know that. You have a bunch of trainers out there, wrestling schools out there right now. I know you have Danny Cage at the Monster Factory. Always, he's had some great Louis Martinez and QT Marshall in the business. There's a lot of wrestling schools out there that are out there. I mean, I can't say who's a bad trainer and who's not. But I know that there's a lot of really good trainers out there.
Yeah, we've actually had Danny. Danny was actually scheduled to be on the show. Remember that, Dan? We had the Monster Factory scheduled to be here, but one thing led to another, and he ended up having to cancel out because he overbooked. But now, here's my second question. This is for you and Mike Messier. Since you're both in television and film, where the hell did all of our great wrestling movies go? Why is it Hollywood or independent filmmakers or somebody with a man with a camera not making plug Mike Messier?
Thanks, buddy.
Why? You're quite welcome, Mike. I'll take care of you. That's, by the way, Andrew, that's the name of his company. It's called Man with a Camera.
Man with Camera Films, yep.
Man with a Camera Films. Where are all the wrestling movies? Why is it somebody hasn't come along and made a really good fact-based wrestling movie? What drama? I don't care. Some good movie.
They're making with what's his name? Chris Hemsworth is portraying Hogan on a biopic on Hogan. I don't know if it's going to be a major motion picture or something for Netflix, but I know they're doing it.
Yeah, you know what, Andrew? And I heard that, but I don't put a lot of stock in it because Terry is the executive producer.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So it's not be run down. Yeah. It'll be told down the middle. It'll be a little biased. So
it'll be a fluff piece. It'll be a fluff piece.
But I mean, I tried to do the documentary Behind the Ropes, and that I'm still trying to get that finished because I have a lot of great footage and a lot of great people and a lot of great wrestlers that are no longer with us were in that with me, and I'd like to see the light of day and continue. Maybe now 7 years later, we're still behind the ropes now. Let's see what happens. But I've been talking to Matt Adams, the cameraman, about who the principal photographer, to see about redoing it and not redoing, but shooting more footage and actually making something cohesive from the then and now sort of perspective. I mean, that was one of the greatest things when you see me and Merciless Ray Mercer going back and forth, talking about the brotherhood of the ring, whether it's MMA, boxing, and then I say, I forgot what I said. I said something like if you don't like it, you can shut up. And I go, it's going, fuck you. And then he goes, yeah, fuck you. And he turns around, he goes to punch the cameraman, really hits the lens, knocks it at the cameraman's eye. It's one of the best scenes ever. And if you look at it, I'll repost the trailer on my Facebook page. You can check it out. It's included in the 10-minute teaser. It's pretty amazing. And I actually take out the tooth of the Jaws shark, Bruce, the part of the mechanical thing. I actually got stuck in it, pulled out one of its teeth, and the owner of it started to curse me out. You know, a lot of funny stuff in there that you really can't. You know,
there seems to be no shortage of wrestling documentaries, but you know, I haven't seen a really. I mean, aside from in recent years, The Wrestler. And also, way back, another film of the same name, The Wrestler, with, of all people, with Ed Asner and Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson, great wrestlers of the day. Great piece, great film.
Nobody can take my drop kick. Yep.
You know, and
50 days.
But here's the thing, though. There's like I said, there's no shortage of documentaries. But where are the good movies at? Where are the good wrestling movies at?
And I think the last time I saw a good wrestling movie was Mr. T and the A-Team with Hulk Hogan versus Greg Valentine in it. That's the last time I can remember.
If I could jump in, I mean, it probably was The Wrestler that Andrew was in as a trainer. Now, I think what Angelo is getting at is the difference between documentary and narrative filmmaking. And
Wrestler was a great film, Mikey.
Yeah,
and we should point out that our friend Evan Ginsberg was one of the producers. Great guy, Darren Aronofsky, of course. I believe directed that film.
He did.
Great guy, great friend.
Yeah, and that film was shot basically on a shoestring budget all over New Jersey, around the Philadelphia, South Jersey, and New York area. Basically on a pocket change budget, and ended up winning Academy Awards.
Well,
Academy Award, won a Golden Globe.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Andrew.
I thought it won an Oscar for screenplay. I could be wrong, but
gotten some of the screenplay. I know it won a Golden Globe. I'll tell you what. I think it would have gotten the Best Picture or Best Actor award. Mickey Rourke might have gotten it, but I think part of it, what happened, Mickey was kind of. It was off when he got the Golden Globe Award, he went off a little bit, and he was a little out there with his speech, and he was criticizing and whittling down people on stuff, and I think that pissed a lot of people off in the Academy Award.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, there was a lot of talk at the time that that this might have been Mickey's first Oscar in almost 20 years, right?
I don't even know if he got an Oscar.
I don't think he ever got one before that.
Oh, really?
No, he was nominated, I think, for something.
Oh, was he nominated for Angel Heart?
I don't know. I think it was. He was. I know he would have got.
Or was it? I'm sorry. Was it a Pope of Greenwich Village, Mikey?
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, I would rather talk about Andrew Anderson than Mickey Rourke because Andrew is the guest here.
I'm asking a question.
I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know what Mickey Rourke did.
Okay.
So here's the other question you asked, Angelo, was where is the good narrative films? And as Angelo knows, I have two scripts, and Angelo's read one of them. The American Luchador Dream of Lobo Fuego script.
Great script.
Thank you. And the other one that I think Andrew here would pretty be interested in would be Wrestling with Sanity. And to answer the question, I think the reason, Angelo, is that wrestling is such a unique thing on its own, and wrestling fans, for the most part, with the addition of podcasts in the last 10 or 15 years, or 10 years at least, wrestling fans like wrestling. It's hard, in my opinion, for wrestling fans to say, okay, we know you've got 20 hours of free wrestling on a week, the WWE Network for $10 a month, YouTube's full of wrestling, but now you have to go and pay $15 to see this wrestling movie. I think that's a hard sell.
I think they would do it.
I think if it's done right, a drama about wrestling, I think it would actually do good. I think if it's done right. But it's the question is,
exactly.
What angle do you go? Do you go, you could do what? I don't know does anybody remember an old TV series called Learning the Ropes with Lyle Alzado.
Yeah, and then Arn Anderson,
Yes.
Arn Anderson and Steve Williams played the wrestler with the hood on to play his part.
Yeah.
That was a great show. I think they could bring something like that back. I mean, but in instead of in a sitcom form, maybe in an actual film. You know, I mean, they just started doing something with Joe that he's a father and a former wrestler and a TV series like that. I mean, so many angles you can approach it from.
Oh my God! Sure.
If I may, one of the things that the wrestler did so well is it presented the real story of wrestling. Whereas there have been movies that, you know, I mean, there was a cross video between like the WWE and Scooby-Doo. There was a comedy movie with a couple of different wrestlers in it. I know the children wrestling and the dog wrestling, and there's been, you know, but most movies that have come out in the last maybe 10, 15 years that have had wrestling have presented it as real. You know, we got to win this match. You know, we got to win this match to raise the money to save the orphanage. We got to win. You know, it was never presented like it was booked. Whereas with the wrestler, when he's backstage and he's talking, and they have the bit with where he bleeds, and you know he's interacting. You know, Andrew, the scenes in the locker room were the heart and soul of that movie. Yeah. And if you were to present wrestling like that sells even to a non-wrestling audience. You don't make the kind of money that movie did just on wrestling fans.
No. You show a darker side to it, of the reality of wrestling. You're talking, you know, the what wrestling was really the real story of a pro wrestler. His life, what he goes through, the trials and tribulations, and what he leads up from his career highlights to his career lows. Right. How he come back and then downfall again. That's what the wrestler was about, and that's what I think. If they made another movie, something similar in that vein, you know, I think that would do well. I think it would do well. You know, I mean, look, we were talking about doing a wrestler reunion. We were supposed to do something for the 10th anniversary in 2018. Union of the wrestler, you know, but it never fell through. I think it was something Mickey Rourke wanted like $60,000 to show up for the thing. Jeez. So it was like everybody and their mother are trying to get me to get Mickey for something, and every time I get a hold of him, it's something so like outrageous, you know. I mean, it's just, you know, there's only so much you can do. But I think another movie. Yes, Mike, send me a script if you want to.
Happy to. Then thanks, Angelo, for setting that up and putting it over.
Get funding for it.
It's a great piece, and I'm not just, you know, fluffing Mikey over here. That's the truth. American Luchador is a great piece, and I told Mikey, I read it. You know, it took me 2 days to read it, about 2.5 days, and I said, "Don't fucking touch it. Don't touch it." And thankfully, he didn't touch it, and it's a great piece. I love the way it reads. I love the way it looks in my head, how I see it as a movie. I love the way it plays out. And Andrew, if you can make some headway, you know, make some waves with that one, and you know, among your Hollywood connections, for sure.
I'm working on a film with AJ McGuire right now. We're trying to pull something out. We've just been working on something, working on a script and bringing it. It's been doctored a few times, and you know, it's been rewrote, and we're hoping something comes through with that. It's not about wrestling, but it's got retired wrestlers in it.
Yeah, JJ. In the interest of full disclosure, JJ did give me the Iggy on that one. I got the heads up on that. Yeah. JJ has actually wants to include me in on that as a part of the film. Yeah, so I'm not gonna jinx that by telling anybody what it's about. But I'll tell you what, Andrew, if you can get with Mikey, I'll tell you what, he's got a couple really great pieces there. That's one thing I'll say about Mike Messi. He's a pain in the ass, but he's a great fucking writer.
Well, that's going to be on my gravestone, and I'll let you sign it.
I just plug my phone back in the charger again. I move my. Hey, Hope, can I get that chair, please? So I just got to put my phone back in the charger.
I'll say something while Andrew's plugging in a little bit.
I'm done. I'm in.
I've noticed that Dan is wearing that Washington Redskins hat, and we want to concentrate on Andrew Anderson, but it is a sign of the times that things are changing. The Redskins has been changing their logo and stuff.
What do they call themselves?
We don't have a name chosen yet. The people are pushing for either Warriors or Red Tails, which is a reference to the Tuskegee Airmen. Those are the two choices that most people are pushing for, but that's from the fans. That's not from Dan Snyder. And by the way, I grew up a Redskins fan, and to be honest, Dan Snyder taking over the team was one of the worst things that ever happened to that franchise.
Yeah.
I think people got to lighten up and chill out with everything. I mean, the political direction is going a little too far. The tearing down statues. Somebody cut up an American flag. Somebody a few houses away from me a couple of days ago, last night, and I saw it, and I made a post, and I pissed some people off, but I said, you know what? If I catch the guy who's doing that, I'm gonna stick that flag up his ass and pull it out of his mouth, and I'll give Vlad the Impaler a run. I mean, that's just that's just the way I feel. Hey guys, I just want to real quick. I'd be amiss if I didn't plug a company that I'm working for right now.
Sure.
In Texas. They're not just a Texas company. They're going international. We got a real great product out there. It's run by a great promoter, Tom Lance, with James Beard is the senior referee. He's also one of the senior officials and helping book the show. And they got a great TV deal going on, and they're on Right Now TV on Roku, and it's on air streaming. Mondays at 8 p.m., Thursdays at 10 p.m. They're on Fight TV Thursday nights at 7 p.m. And I got guys like Moonshine Mantel, Brent McKenzie, Barrett Brown, and it's just they're really a talented group. Nas Planck and Miranda Gordy, second generation.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Terry Gordy's daughter.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think obviously you got. The center of the show, it circles around Tim Storm, the heavyweight champion, former NWA heavyweight champion. He's the SWA Fury champion, but not if I have something to say about it, So
I hear you.
Tim, always watch your back. And I gotta say, one of the greatest breakout stars I think that's coming a long way out of that company is definitely Ryan Green as Moonshine Mantel. Kid's phenomenal. I've been to the ring with him, and he can go. And he can work hard, he's tough, and he's another guy, light as a feather, yet as strong as an ox, and so is Brent McKenzie. The kid reminds me of
I'll tell you what, Andrew, you're a part of our Wrestling with the Future private group, right?
Yes, I think I am.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you put everything up in our private group, and then I'll share that among our other platforms. This way we'll get it out there.
I mean, look, they work really hard, these guys, and they got a good show going on there. They're on Action TV, the Action Channel, and they're on CW33 in Dallas Fort Worth on Saturday night. So they're doing a really good thing. And I'm also coming to Rhode Island.
My old state.
Coming to Rhode Island, coming on August 8th. Yeah, no, I'm actually working for it's in Woonsocket, Rhode Island for New World Wrestling Extreme on Saturday, August 8th. It's at 7:30 bell time at the American Legion Post 85 Pavilion in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And
okay, good.
And you're saying the name of the city right. That's where both of my parents are from. You're saying Woonsocket the French Canadian way. You've got the name of the city down. They'll lug you for that one.
And I'm wrestling against a really big man, an up and comer. Dan, you'd love him. Angelo, so it should be pretty good.
Okay.
I'm always trying to plug all the stuff that I'm doing coming up. I work a lot. There's a great company in Florida, Thunder Championship Wrestling. They got a wrestling school in Florida. They're great product from them. Old school wrestling, and it's one of the companies that actually starts on time.
I would love to see good old school wrestling come back.
Listen, you got to see old school wrestling, golf, State Wrestling in Louisiana, where I work for. I was former Louisiana heavyweight champion.
Oh, God, yeah.
My buddy Mike Beadle has a great company down there, too.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give kudos to everyone who's got me up on their stuff.
Sure.
I know there's some issues, but I'm going to be this Thursday. You'll see me singing live with the band Aqua Cherry on the Monty and the Pharaoh show. I'm not there as a wrestling guest. I'm there as a performer, a musical guest, believe it or not. So I don't know if you guys know that, but I can also sing. So
he can sing as good as he can wrestle.
The cat on Long Island might be out there freaking meowing for, but it's all a good deal. You know, I'm just trying to everything and get everybody out there and cover all my bases with everybody. You know.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much for coming by. I really, really appreciate it.
Bro, listen to me. I got to tell you, Angelo, I want to thank you so much for having Karen McDaniel and Barbara Goodish and Carol Snuka on the show, and I think that was a classy thing to do. 3 great ladies from 3 great widows, 3 great wrestlers, legends in the business, and 2 of them that I knew, one of them that I was very close with, and one of them that I idolized. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you, like I tell everybody, you know, Dan and I, we don't really consider ourselves a wrestling podcast. We consider ourselves archivists of history.
Yeah, and, it was really cool.
You know, you're good friends with my Goomba, my dear friend Tony Villano.
Oh, I love Tony.
Yeah, and Seth Turner. You know, these are people that you and I know, and I love them and respect them, and you know, they're all about preserving the history.
And Tony Villano is a good friend of mine, and Tony's a good friend of Scott Wilder, and I hope to see you, man, come to the Wrestling Classic, September 19th. You know, that's going to be it's going to be in Connecticut, in Hartford, Connecticut, the Wrestling Classic, and I'm going to be there with Scott Wilder Promotions, with Kevin Sullivan, with Greg Valentine. You know, so I mean, that's a great chance.
Send me all the info. Send it.
I'll send, and
I'll get there.
Absolutely. Plug all that on the site, but in the meantime, Dan, I got to tell you, man, you're a fucking awesome interview, dude. You're a good.
Thank you.
You know your shit. You're on the money, and I appreciate everything you said. And I got to tell you, buddy, I mean it from my heart, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you.
And Mike, you got to take care of them hemorrhoids, buddy. You know, I mean, I know it's sitting like
it's the penis reduction surgery. Andrew. I'm crippling women up and down the East Coast.
Here, it wouldn't be me, you know. So,
I'm putting women in wheelchairs before their time, and I need to have this reduction surgery in order that I'm not registered as a lethal weapon.
Maybe you got the hemorrhoids from freaking tucking it in the wrong area.
I had a big question I wanted to ask Andrew tonight. I had a huge question that I wanted to ask him.
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, here it is. Here's the big question. And it's a personal thing for me that you are doing what I'm not doing, which is you are working the territories. You are working these, territories and entertaining people throughout the country as a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. And I give you a lot of respect for that. But one thing, I respect your style of wrestling. I watched your match with Big Van Vader. I've watched a lot of your matches, Papadon. But what I don't respect, to be honest with you, is some of these guys, I guess that they're in their 30s. They're in PWG, which is in California. It's some guys that I used to really respect. Tommaso Ciampa taking his thumb, inserting his thumb into Jushin Liger's buttocks, and then another wrestler comes along and inserts his thumb into Tommaso Ciampa, and then they have a whole train. And some of these guys that are in this thing are now in NXT, they're now in AEW, and they've made big names for themselves. And I'm very adamant that was disgraceful. That was a disrespect to the sport. That was a disrespect to the fans, a disrespect to the ring. Kenny Omega wrestling plastic dolls and 9-year-old Japanese girls, it's very disgraceful. And a man of integrity such as yourself, Andrew the Reinforcer Anderson, how do you deal with these prima donna brats who have less respect for the business than Tom McGee did in 1986? How does a man of integrity such as yourself tolerate these losers?
It's not. Look, I can't really say anything about anybody. I can't say my feelings about any of that stuff, because I don't want people to start shitting on me saying what I don't like. Look, I said I didn't appreciate the dick flip once, and everybody went off on me about it.
Yeah, well, we see what happens now, don't we, with that guy?
And everybody shit on me because I said I didn't appreciate the dick flip. But look where that's gone. You know what I'm saying? He's a nice guy. When I met him. He's the kid. He
wasn't trying to touch you in inappropriate ways.
But I'm not about making a mockery of the business. That's all I got to say about it.
Exactly. And that's the problem. The problem is right is wrong, wrong is right, up is down, left is right, right is left. The whole fucking business is upside down right now.
Well, I'd like to end this with one thing. I remember there was a quote. Now I might fuck the quote up. I don't know if I'm gonna, but Johnny Valentine once said, "You may not think the sport is real, but you'll think that I'm real."
Yeah,
and that's
what Johnny said. I remember that well. Because remember, I'm old. I know this shit. He said, I can never convince you that wrestling is real, but I will damn sure convince you that I'm real."
Real, yep. And Greg would always tell me, he goes, "My dad didn't do this. My dad would do this. My dad would do this." And he had a lot of love and respect for his dad. And Greg is like a dad to me. And we'd always work the angle that he's my dad, we're saying at autograph shows, stuff like that. And he'd always say a little bit of the drizzle that came down my leg, that's why Deborah McMichael will always call me Dribbles. So she always say the dribble of you, a little bit of Greg's dribble. Wow. She said you didn't fall too far away from him. So she'd always bust me. But I always say I had 3 fathers in professional wrestling. I had Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Kevin Sullivan. And Kevin has taught me a lot over the past few years. And I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Craig Massey, who's one of the best guys in the business. He's not in the wrestling business, but he's the self-proclaimed world's biggest wrestling mark. And he has one of the biggest collections of wrestling memorabilia you ever could shake a stick at. And he's also one of the nicest guys I've ever freaking met. And I owe the guy a lot. He's helped my career a great deal, and I want to thank you, Craig. If you're watching this, I love you, buddy. And I love Kevin Sullivan. I love you dearly, Papa. I call him Papa because he's Papa Smurf. He looks like the Travelocity gnome with that little beard he's got now, But, it happens when you're a diminutive little bastard like him, So, somebody just posted a couple of days ago of a picture of me and Big Gang, the one-man gang, and a picture of me and Gang George hugging each other, George Gray, and it was at a show from Gulf State Wrestling, and it was just, to me, pictures like that, they show the camaraderie of the business that you can't make up. It's like I haven't seen Gang in such a long time. There was some flooding going down in Louisiana and in Baton Rouge where he lives. And when I saw him, it was just like, we hugged each other, and somebody caught that moment. I think it's a really beautiful picture. And it's moments like that. It's moments like that I wish a lot of the boys would remember, because the guys that you meet now in this business are probably going to be the best friends you have in your life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You become family. These guys more than I've seen my family at times. And that's what wrestling means to me. And that's why I wanted to push. And I still want to find somebody who can help me make Behind the Ropes, because it's about the brotherhood. It's not about Andrew Anderson. It's not about me. It's about the brotherhood of pro wrestling. I wish people could show that. The emotion, the feeling, and the love that we have for each other. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you like that.
It's not anymore. It's not.
I think perhaps the show will go a long way, at least at that major first step in getting that accomplished. I don't believe in accidents, and I don't think it was an accident that Mike Messier was here tonight. And I believe that fate has something bigger and better for you. I'm absolutely convinced of that. We got to have you back. We just barely got started.
Promoting the movie Blade and Blood by director J.D. Glasscock. Yes, I said Glasscock, but he's a great director. He's a great writer and director.
Yes.
I'm doing a movie called Blade and Blood with him, and it's been postponed because of this freaking pandemic. And it's going to be a major motion picture, and it's something to look out for, and I'll keep you guys, informed about what's going on with everything. So, yeah. But guys, it's been great.
I appreciate it. Andrew, we gotta have you come back. I will see. Today's Tuesday. I will give you a holler tomorrow. You'll be around tomorrow?
Around all day. My doctor's actually making a house call. He's coming to take blood so that I can get licensed for Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, and have all my blood work for all the states. But when it does open up, I'm ready, because it's a 6-month period that the blood work has to be ready. Some states it's 3-month period, but you got to have everything, the HIV, hepatitis, and everything. And and I'm going to go with everything except for a freaking tooth that's got to have a root canal on the 26th. But other than that, that's it. Maybe I'll find somebody to drop kick my tooth out.
Wow.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Tell our friends Monty and the Pharaoh we said hi.
Yeah.
I'll touch base with you tomorrow. Andrew Anderson, everyone. He's really easy to find. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
You got a home here, brother. You're coming back. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night. Andrew Anderson, everyone. Great guy. Mikey, Danny.
Yes, sir.
We are back. Here's Dave.
We got Dave back there. Look, he's in a tree.
Now, Dave is here tonight because Dave is actually involved in a very important happening on Friday night. Before we get to you, Dave, we got to have a sponsor. It's a very fine watch. Yes, I love it.
Do you see what time it is?
Yes, it's 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, half hour late, and then you called me a half hour early before that.
Well, I can do that. You know why? Because I can. Dan.
Yes, sir.
Our sponsor.
Word from our sponsor. Well, it's funny, on part of his parting words, Andrew mentioned his criticism of the dick flip, and Mikey chimed in that, it's no fun, the dick flip, especially if you're trying to touch it against your will. But, if you're going to talk about touching something, it's got to be smooth, it's got to be clean, and you can do that with our friends at manscaped.com. For those of you who are manscaped.com, whether you're carrying a couple of cue balls or you're a wolf man from the waist down, me personally, I was a child of the 80s, so I learned from a young age Wolfman's got nards, and if Wolfman wants to take care of those nards, he can with our friends at manscaped.com. Use the promo code WrestlingFuture for 20% off. They're currently running a bundle deal, includes the Lawnmower 3.0, which is the best shaver out there. You have the Reviver and Preserver ball spray. Yes, I said that correctly. You get a free pair of the Manscaped boxers, most comfortable boxers you'll ever have, and a free leather carry bag. If you use promo code WrestlingFuture, you get $18 off as well as free shipping. So for our friends at manscaped.com, for all your manscaping needs, your ball spray, you can smell nice, look nice. Trust me, if you in the era of 2020 when everything sucks, you can do something that makes you feel good. For Wrestling in the Future and our friends at manscaped.com.
Balls to the walls.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of balls, Dave Dahl's here. How you doing, Dave?
He was here.
Where'd he go?
Good shot of his desk there.
He was taking a nap a minute ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Dave?
Hold on.
There
he is.
Good television there, Dave.
I was going to say, why was I looking at a remote control?
Oh, he's got the hurricane. Where's his
the hurricane. Okay. Why am I putting Shane Helms over?
Oh, there's his cape. All right. Nice. That's what I'm talking about.
Really just.
Okay, so now. Oh, okay, I got you. So now, Dave, you're here because you've got something going on Friday night. It's a charity event. I want you to tell everybody what you're involved in, what's going on, and who's promoting this event in Camden, New Jersey.
So as far as I know, it's a company called EWA. I never heard of them. I saw that he was having a show. I reached out to him, and who can deny me? I mean, it's me. Come on. So I'm on the show. But as far as I know, I have no clue what I'm doing. So I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to go talk badly about the town because it's Camden, and that's easy to do.
Mm-hmm. And
hey, now, the people collect my pay and go home.
Exactly. The gentleman running it is a guy named Mr. CEO. I thought his name was Mr. Cleo until I realized it was Mr. period C.E.O. Mr. CEO. I know that's about as much as I know about Mr. CEO. He reached out to me today. He was going to be on the show tonight, but he called me at 6 o'clock when I specifically told him to call me at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, don't you just hate when people call you at the wrong time, right, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Especially when you have a 2-year-old you have to put to bed. That's why I give you exact.
You want to put we'll wait while you put your daughter to bed.
Well, I already put her to bed.
Okay, then.
I had to rush and put her to bed.
Okay.
Well,
right now,
Dave, Angelo and I do a lot of shows with Mikey, so we know exactly what that's like.
Exactly, yeah. We deal with Mike Messier every week.
Well, very good.
So, like, literally, Dave, you really, like, know nothing about this group. And I'll be honest with you, I tried to reach out today. I can't find out anything about who these people are. I don't know.
The actual name is Richie. It's RICCI Star.
Oh, Ricky Starr. Okay, from NWA.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he is.
You sure?
Yeah, Ricky Starr.
Okay. But Boogeyman's gonna be there. I know that.
The Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
Hold on 1 second. My dog's barking.
Oh, we got dogs, we got kids, we got all types of fun stuff.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about Boogie coming up.
Well, now when he says the Boogeyman, is he talking Boogeyman Johnny Valiant, or is he talking WWE Boogeyman?
Well,
Because they
like
both work the independent circuit.
The Marty or
I don't know if he's talking about, Boogeyman with the big clock around his neck.
yeah, Marty. What's his name? Marty something.
Yeah.
That was like 2005 era.
Yeah, but he still pops up.
That was a good interview. Andrew Anderson, by the way, Angelo is a really cool guy. We could talk to him for weeks. I think from my end, I think maybe next time we'd ask him to plug up his phone or something, because it was a little bit the audio was hard for me at times. But he's a very talented guy. And what I was really thinking, Angelo, is Andrew Anderson is the definition of ethics in professional wrestling. And I really find that, to me, he's someone we can get behind and say that this is the guy that can really help train guys of the next generation, because he has that ethic, old school, practical.
Well, you got to remember something too, Mikey. Andrew came in at a time that was still the tail end of that old school system, number one. Number two, the guys that were training him, is that Stevie Richards?
I think that's Marty Jannetty.
Marty Jannetty.
Is that Marty?
Yeah, be careful, because we don't know who he's dating. Hey, keep your daughter away from that Marty Jannetty doll.
Oh,
okay. What I say, Shawn Michaels? Okay.
Oh, Shawn, okay. It's kind of a dark hair.
Yeah.
For Shawn.
Shawn had the bleach hair.
So you talk about when you talk about Andrew, yeah, he had he's got a pedigree, because I mean, look who trained him.
Metal Maniac, Jimmy Snuka, Greg Valentine. Get a little Razor Ramon there.
Who's all showing up at this shindig?
What's up?
Who's all showing up at this shindig? You say Boogeyman, Jimmy Valiant Boogeyman, or the Boogeyman with the big clock around his neck?
The Boogeyman that eats the worms.
Okay.
That's the March guy.
So I have no interest in seeing him. Okay.
Right in Camden. I mean, it's Camden.
Oh, yeah, but bad wrestling is bad wrestling.
Oof.
Whoa. Angelo.
Yeah, but it's a wrestling show in Camden. Every fifth ticket gets their car broken into during the show.
Wow.
It's playing.
Not to trash it, but the biggest star on the show besides Boogeyman is myself. I mean, did you see the flyer?
It's worth going just to see you, to be honest with you. I'm not even shitting you. I'm shooting with you. For real. I mean, I honestly would go to see you. I wouldn't go to see Boogeyman. Would have no interest.
Why?
Because doesn't wrestle anymore.
What is it?
He doesn't wrestle anymore.
Yes, he does.
Do worms spread COVID? Do worms spread COVID-19 or not?
He's got to be 70 years old now. How old is he now?
You're mixing the two up, you dumb man.
No, you're talking about the dude with all the makeup. How old is he? Like 65?
No.
He can't be. How old is this dude?
When he debuted as the Boogeyman, he was in his 40s. That was part of the storyline. When he was on Tough Enough, he lied about his age to get on Tough Enough. He was 40 when that show started. So if he was 40 in 2000, in the mid 2000s, he's got to be mid to late 50s by now.
Marty Wright is aged. Guess how he's aged, guys? His birthday's tomorrow, if that means anything.
What? How old is he?
He will be 57 tomorrow.
There you go, mid to late 50s.
Pushing 60, all right.
He's married to Melissa George.
All right, so he's pushing 60. He's not exactly, in demand. Let's be honest about it.
Oh, that's not very nice.
Well, I mean, I hate to be, the party pooper here, but somebody's got to, throw some reality on the shit. When Dave Dahl is the best attraction on the card, that ought to tell you something.
Well, it should be a fine nine out.
It's the dog event. I'm always the best attraction on the card.
Dave Dahl, are you?
Of course. That's why I know.
Now, Dave Dahl, if you could expand, this event is open to the public. People can purchase tickets, and it's going to be socially distanced and all that. Is it safe?
It's a charity event, and I want to get serious for a half a second. It's a charity event. It's for, it's supposed to be to come together to bring awareness to what? To abuse, wrestlers against abuse. What's the deal here?
Hold on.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that I promote who they are. Okay, EWA's risen. Okay.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
And
Rivera. Okay, right. Okay, cool.
And will people be? Can you give people that are watching that might buy a ticket a sense of personal safety and security, or is it just take your chances and see what happens?
That is above my pay grade. I'm
all right. Fair enough.
I'm not a boss. I'm not an owner. I'm going to. I do, and get out of Canada as quickly as possible.
If you don't, I know.
How did this come to you? They just reached out to you? Is that what happened here?
I reached out to them.
Oh, you reached out to them. Okay.
I just wanted to get back in the ring.
Good for you, man.
You just want to wrestle.
Goddamn right.
Okay.
Hold on. Dan had a question. Let him ask.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was going to chime in and say New Jersey still has they're not fully reopened yet. So I don't know what arena this says this is in. I just tried to look up the poster and couldn't find it real quick. But New Jersey still has restrictions on how many people can be indoors. I want to say it's New Jersey's at 250, something like that.
Outside.
Oh, it's an outdoor venue. Okay.
It was supposed to be last Saturday, but because it was supposed to storm Friday and Saturday, he moved it to this Friday night.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, I'm looking at no less than 9 promotions called EWA Wrestling. No less than 9. And none of them they came to New Jersey.
Tell you what, Angelo, Jeff used to tell a good story, and I know he told it on the show when you guys first started, where he went to that ref at a wrestling show and got paid in Subway coupons. This is starting to look. I think Dave Dahl's going to end up with an envelope full of fast food coupons at this rate.
I'm telling you, right? A handshake and a hoagie.
Yeah, no, not happening.
Rule number one of
merch anyway.
rule number one of booking yourself for a wrestling show: don't ever take a job where everybody gets paid the same amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brother, I don't know what the deal is there. I would love to promote them, but to be honest with you, I don't know who the hell they are. I can't very well promote them.
You know, this has got to be a we have a lot of firsts on this show in the last 100 and change episodes, Angelo, but first time we've ever booked somebody to promote a show that they don't know anything about. No offense, Dave.
Well, I mean, I expected, I expected,
stock videos to his Facebook story. So like the best promotion was me sharing one of his posts, like his actual post, and shitting on Camden saying I'll be there. So that was probably the best promotion he's had so far.
Okay, well, and not to throw you under the bus, Dave, but you're normally much more prepared, with all of your ducks lined up, and I don't know.
Wait.
I can do to promote this show.
It would be all fine and good right now.
Well,
but who lost the file, sir?
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what we're going to do.
Oh, boy.
Forget about the show. We're just going to talk to Dave Dahl and see what you got going on with you. How you doing, Dave? What's happening? Good?
You're an ass.
What am I supposed to do?
You're a psychic dinosaur. You know that? No, I don't know the show because it's a random ass company that popped up. I wanted to get in the ring. I booked myself on it.
Okay.
Come home. That's it.
Yeah, well, this guy reached out to me too, and I offered him the opportunity to come on, but he wanted to Facebook me. And I said, that's not how I roll, brother. You want to come on and talk? We're going to go on Skype on my show, and we'll talk on the air. And I've not heard from him. So I don't know what to say. I will probably be represented there Friday. I may not be there, but you can rest assured I will have somebody there representing me.
I'm on the show. Of course you're representing.
Absolutely. So look, I mean, wish you the best. Whoever you're working, I hope you go over. Dan.
Yes, sir.
What do you got going on? Oh, let's go to Mike Messier first. Mikey, what do you got to promote?
Well, I'll be training Dave Dahl's dog on my off time to get him to behave. Beyond that, I've just been concentrating on some practical matters, Angelo, working on my YouTube page, fixing that up because so many people have been saying, Mike, your YouTube page needs a revamp. And so I've sequestered and I'm trying to do that for my fans. And you can find Mike Messier on YouTube. And that's about it, Angelo. Everything else is good. I appreciate you mentioning the scripts to Andrew, and hopefully we'll get that going. And when this whole COVID crap clears, we'll all be making movies together.
Yeah, we got the Dave Dahl pop now.
That's Triple H.
It looked like Dave Dahl to me. It had a beard and a mustache. It was Dave Dahl.
No, I was trying to see. Dan, do you have that one?
No.
Do you want that one?
Not particularly. No, I was actually never the biggest fan of Triple H.
He wants Dave Dahl pop.
This one.
That Ted DiBiase?
Yeah, he's over here somewhere.
How about this one?
That's is that the Iron Sheik or is that Sabu? That's Iron Sheik.
No, that's the Iron Sheik. That's great.
That's funny.
I actually do appreciate the Iron Sheik one of all of them.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I only had pops. I was trying to sell him one. Yeah. Why not?
I want to find out who this promotion is. I'll put a link up to their show on the description of the video.
And the flyer.
Say final goodbyes for us, Daniel, and we'll get out of here, and we'll get Mikey back so he can lay down and take care of his.
I'm fine. My reduction surgery is tomorrow.
Yes,
I've been labeled a lethal crippler.
John Holt's penis reduction surgery.
That's right,
guys.
Wait.
Get Manscaped.
Oh, did you get your shirt yet, Mikey?
I haven't. No, I have not. But I'm looking forward to the 3XL shirt. Thank you.
And you'll get it tomorrow or the next. You should get. You should be getting it tomorrow.
Great. I'll wear it Thursday night.
What's that?
Where's mine?
Well, you'll get one of these lovely. Check this out. Look at this. One of these lovely Wrestling with the Future T-shirts. Just as soon as I get my Dave Dahl warm-up starter kit.
Go to myhousesportsdiary.com and talk to my sponsor, sir.
Talk to your sponsor. No, your sponsor should be talking to me. Okay?
All right, gentlemen.
I am.
That's how that shit works. Go ahead, Dan.
There's a new life lessons of Mikey Messier, by the way. The new life lessons on the YouTube page of Wrestling with the Future. And all the audio versions. Go ahead, Dan.
I came this close. I almost got a word in without Mikey.
I love how Mikey just got Dan.
So are we going to interview me or what? Like, where's the questions at besides the show? Like, come on. You owe me a single interview here, Angelo.
You want to do this now?
I'm down. You down? Dan, you down?
Dan? You got time, Dan?
Not particularly. We're about 50 minutes over my usual schedule.
You better make time for me, goddamn.
No, on a serious note, Dave is actually a really good interview. He's a really good guest. Why don't you get you and Dave do a round table together?
Okay.
You know what, we were going to do that show I talked about, the state of indie wrestling?
Yeah.
Now with everything opening back up, why don't you and Dave hit that subject?
Okay.
Okay. You down for that, Dave?
Whatever.
Can I get a fucking commitment from you? Jesus. Oh,
he's got the millennial apathy.
I do what you tell me.
These days.
He even no-sells my fucking, suggestions. Like fucking no-selling me.
I'm not
Oh, my God.
It's the same for my co-promoters to the building.
Take shots this year. On behalf of Dan the Man, Mike the Magic Movie Maker Messier. Listen, I'm the Magic Movie Maker. Listen to me. Mike the Movie Maker Messier, Daredevil Dave Dahl. I'm Psychic Medium Angelo. Take care, everybody. Happy wrestling. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.